I'm Aurora. Have you ever experienced a difficult period in your life? A time when it seemed like the hardships would never end? Days filled with incessant worry, relentless thoughts, and countless tears? I'm sure those moments were incredibly tough, weren't they? We went through something quite similar a few months ago, all thanks to my irresponsible and self-absorbed sister. I'm truly grateful that those days are now behind us. When I was just 3 years old, tragedy struck our family when my mother had a fatal accident on her way home from work. She passed away. Unlike me, my older sister Sarah was quite young at the time and had a hard time coping. She was a bit of a spoiled child, and her tears seemed never ending. For me, it was a bit different because I have only a few faint memories of our mother. It's not that I wasn't sad, it's just that I wasn't as devastated as my older sister. Nevertheless, I can't deny that I miss her. The absence of a mother is undeniably challenging. My father is a kind and loving man who cares deeply for both my sister and me. He does his best to spend time with us, taking us shopping or just hanging out. However, it doesn't happen as often as we'd like. He manages a large company, so he's a very busy man. After my mother's passing, Sarah received the majority of our father's attention. But all that attention didn't necessarily benefit her. She became the center of everyone's focus, with special attention paid to her every meal, drink, and outfit. Her birthday celebrations were extravagantly grand, and she practically had everything she desired. Yet she still yearned for more. She knew how to milk the attention, understanding that her tears were a surefire way to get what she wanted. I distinctly remember last Christmas. Dad had toiled all week to prepare the presents, and the Christmas tree was almost obscured by the multitude of wrapped gifts he'd purchased for Sarah. Remarkably, when Sarah unwrapped all her Christmas gifts, she began to scream and cry, all because she didn't receive a new phone. "If Mom were alive, she'd know exactly what I wanted," she lamented. It's been 11 long years since our mother's passing, and now Sarah is on the cusp of graduating from high school. Yet, it's a consensus among everyone that she hasn't matured much. Sarah often exploits our mother's death as a means to manipulate our father into fulfilling her desires, and given his considerable financial resources, he rarely denies her requests. She's exhibited traits of greed and selfishness, often prioritizing her friends over spending time with Dad and me. Dad frequently reassures us that as long as she's happy, it's all right. I must admit, I'm not particularly bothered by her choices, as Sarah and I were never particularly close. I've always felt that Dad must be quite lonely. He chose not to remarry after Mom's passing, wanting to focus on raising us properly. Consequently, I've made it a priority to fill the void in his life. It's not just a sense of responsibility. I genuinely enjoy spending time with my dad. He's a lot of fun. In the meantime, Sarah started dating an older guy who had a somewhat intimidating appearance. With long hair, tattoos, and a motorcycle, he didn't seem like the right match for my sister. I couldn't fathom what she saw in him. There was just something off about him. Dad, understandably, disapproved of him entirely. He made every effort to dissuade her from the relationship, but she remained stubborn, engaging in heated arguments and tantrums to coerce our dad into permitting her to continue dating him. It was just another instance of her manipulating our father to get her way. Over time, Sarah underwent a profound transformation that left her nearly unrecognizable. Her outward appearance had changed dramatically. She started dressing entirely in black, applying heavy, dark makeup, and even went so far as to get piercings on her tongue and eyebrow. As you may have surmised by now, whenever Dad attempted to caution her that she was taking things to extremes, she responded with outbursts, shouting and screaming, insisting that he had no understanding of what was best for her. She argued that if our mother were still alive, she would have allowed her to do as she pleased. During this tumultuous period, Dad found himself in a difficult position. On one hand, he was desperate not to lose his daughter, who had transformed into someone wild and unrecognizable from the sweet girl she used to be. He wondered where his gentle little girl had gone. On the other hand, he struggled to find an effective way to communicate with her, particularly because every effort he made only seemed to provoke her resistance, as she viewed him as controlling. I'm a bit younger than Sarah, but even I sensed that something ominous was brewing. However, I could never have imagined the extent of the calamity that would befall us or how it would irrevocably alter our lives. One night, Sarah came into my room and asked me to cover for her. She explained that there was a rock band concert in town, and her boyfriend had already purchased tickets for both of them. She felt obligated to attend for the sake of her popularity. Initially, I had reservations and declined her request. But she persisted, and her insistence grew increasingly annoying, leading me to reluctantly agree, with the condition that she wouldn't return home too late. She hadn't been gone for more than an hour when I heard her returning, which put my mind at ease, as I could finally get some sleep. The next morning, she avoided everyone and claimed not to be feeling well. She also expressed her desire to skip school that day. Dad offered to take her to the doctor, but she declined, insisting that she felt unwell and believed she'd likely recover by the following day. Consequently, Dad departed for work, and I visited her room before catching the school bus. I entered without knocking, determined to find out what had occurred the previous night. Expecting her usual outburst, I was taken aback when something different transpired. To my surprise, she embraced me and began to cry uncontrollably. I observed her face, and what I saw left me utterly speechless and horrified. Her face bore the evidence of violence. Bruises marred her features, with dark blue marks near her left eye and around her mouth. The shock was overwhelming, and I involuntarily screamed at the sight. What happened? Who was the monster responsible for this? I cried out. My immediate suspicion fell upon her boyfriend. She hesitated to admit that he was the perpetrator, instead claiming that she and her friends had fallen from his motorcycle. I found her explanation hard to believe, but without concrete evidence, I couldn't press the issue further. The following day, she felt better and decided to join Dad and me for breakfast, a rare occurrence in recent times. I noticed a smile on Dad's face, and he appeared genuinely happy that Sarah had chosen to join us for a meal. His joy was further amplified when he saw that she had returned to her usual attire, a pink blouse and short blue pants with her hair neatly styled away from her face. I felt a sense of trepidation when she entered, fearful of Dad's reaction upon seeing the bruises. However, she had concealed them skillfully with makeup. She wasn't naive in that regard. "You look stunning, honey. Just like your mother used to be," Dad said, radiating warmth and affection. Following that moment of warmth and reconnection, an unusual silence settled in. It struck me as odd that just 2 nights prior, she had been dressed entirely in black, and now she seemed like her usual self once more. Clearly, something significant had transpired, though the details eluded me. Yet, the most important thing was that Sarah had seemingly returned to her normal self, and that brought a sense of relief. However, this newfound tranquility was short-lived. One day, while I was at home engrossed in a video game, the door received an insistent, heavy knocking. My attention snapped away from the screen as I witnessed Sarah rush into her room sobbing. Her appearance filled me with apprehension, prompting me to abandon my game and follow her to her room. Upon entering, I encountered her tear-streaked face and immediately inquired about what had occurred. Struggling to speak through her tears, she revealed that on the night she had requested my assistance in covering for her, she had ventured out with her wretched boyfriend. He had persistently asked her for money, exploiting his mother's illness as an excuse, claiming that he lacked the funds to purchase her necessary medicine. So she confessed that she had been giving him money every time they went out, depleting her own finances in the process. I couldn't help but feel infuriated by her naivety and vulnerability. However, the revelation went deeper. It wasn't solely an act of compassion for his mother. She had also done it because, with every sum she provided, he showered her with compliments, proclaiming her beauty and professing his love for her. He even introduced her to more friends and helped elevate her popularity. It was a manipulative and deceitful web she had become ensnared in. That was precisely what she craved, being the center of attention, and she relished every moment of it. However, the last time he requested money, she mustered the courage to decline. In response, he demanded the gold necklace she wore, a precious heirloom from our mother. Naturally, she refused to part with it, sparking a violent altercation where he mercilessly beat her. He berated her, deeming her worthless and attributing her popularity solely to his influence. He ominously warned that he could reduce her to obscurity with a mere gesture. Unable to endure his cruelty any longer, she resolved to sever ties with him permanently. However, on this day, he had sent her an extensive menacing message. She was in such distress that she could barely articulate its contents through her tears. At that point, I took her cell phone and read the message myself.